Manever I say ma PENDREAM TV. PENDREAM TV there o see them yopo.
Lawyer Beatrice Annan abeka asembi afaye Mensah hono chirema the way Mensah any deputies manage is it's time I saw mo put your more NPP colors no aside and where you see colors no Esan said they are being too biased on the side of NPP too much. Esan says so person we recollation after declaration which CI 127 doesn't support then a constituency which even your office was put on fire damango where you free na baby NDC winning kwana we focused. This shows say omo very very biased towards NPP enya adepa na can be actually is enya asem ketua no chirema is like this defeat NPP defeat ma Mensah amana confused be a onhu dia onye no na omonya ntie a ono lawyer Beatrice Annan nim NPP lawyers are more advice Mensah no on what to do. Internet woman no ma be press conference no ma be say because they are even confused. They don't know the step to go. It is NPP lawyers who are advising Mensah and in penny for more no men kasa be bre enko video no neti ense ni mu ye pa.
First of all, Equia asked the question, what has Mensah done? What Mensah has done is to exhibit high levels of indiscretion in a manner which is not fair, reasonable, and candid as Article 296 requires her to do. You cannot say that as an electoral commission you want to recollate results and not talk about Damongo, where even your officers or your office was bent down. So what we are asking Madame Mensah to do is to put away her NPP colors and wear that of the EC so that she can be very consistent. And conveniently, the NPP will refer to Afarijan recollation in Peru East and say that, oh, but in 2004, that recollation was done. Please, let's not demean the venerable Afarijan by comparing him to Mensah. It's like comparing apples to practically nothing. Mr. Afarijan.
She was not comparing. She said it's not.
No, they should. No, they were trying to make it look like there is a precedent set by Afarijan. Yeah. Please. Mr. Afarijan will go down as the EC that has managed elections in this country and has brought our democracy thus far. The likes of Mensah wants Ghana to bend down. She's more. You see, she's more worried than Bawumia. At least as for Bawumia, he accepted that they have rejected him. It's the gap he was worried about, and President Mahama gave him a wide gap. I mean, on a lighter note, I read the book, How to Pray the Right Way. I think that Dr. Bawumia should have been very explicit about the kind of gap he was looking for. But the point I'm making is that let's not make it look like anybody is demonizing Mensah. The NDC's vigilance has won the election. We have not flip-flopped and all of a sudden started praising her because we won an election. Because we knew the things. We were always going after them after their meetings. There is something I cannot say, perhaps because of oath of secrecy. But where Madame Mensah takes her legal opinion, I know. The NPP people she takes a legal opinion from and calls and asks for direction on what to do next, even before she filed this application. This application was filed. We know. So it's not everything we say on TV. And so she herself knows. That is why she does not even deny some of the things, and her spokespersons are NPP communicators. But the point is that the recollation done by Afarijan was within a different legal regime. At the time, there was no CI 127. And for Afarijan, if Afarijan was doing recollation, Afarijan would not do a recollation that would favor NPP at the time when there are other areas that favors the NPP when recollation is done. That is not how Afarajan and Madame Charlotte Mensah ran the office of the Electoral Commission. So let that be done. Let that be said. And let me also say that we cannot talk about the victory and we cannot talk about the elections in this country without us talking about the NDC members who were killed for no justifiable reason. You are talking about an electoral commission or a returning officer who was under duress. And I've told you, duress is even a matter of law and fact. And you are up in arms because of duress. What about the people who lost their lives? I personally don't like going to the party headquarters for one reason. Anytime I'm going to the party headquarters, the pictures of the young girls who were shot, who were lying in blood, the young men who had lives, who probably would have managed the economy better than you people did, but they were shot because you wanted to have power in this election. The EC has the responsibility to make sure that its officers were protected. So when they were holding the meetings for rigging, they forgot that they had to protect the returning officers so they are not under duress. Can you imagine the dangerous precedent? That all the seats that the NDC lost, we also want recollation. All the seats that have been declared, because now a declaration of results does not bar recollation. And all one party has to do is to allege either undue influence, duress, or any other thing. You can imagine that we also want all that done after 6 months, because nothing should bar us. That is the logic. That is the new law. And I've consistently said that any time there is a new law in our politics, it's the NPP that introduces it. And I am scandalized and shocked that you guys will bow your heads in shame and bow out honorably, having presented and been led by a man that Ghanaians have in the most overwhelming manner rejected. I think the message is that let the NPP not come close to anywhere that they have to exercise discretion, because you guys do not know how to handle power. It gets into your head, under your skin, and it gets them to do the wrong thing. The day of reckoning will come. In 2016, when the NPP started destroying shops, when they started seizing passports of people, they started vandalizing homes, they started collapsing banks of people who had worked, they started destroying businesses of people that they thought were not aligned to the NPP. They started giving military bodyguards to Gofredami and the likes. Madame J. Mensah has more than 15. Some follow her to the saloon, some station in her home. They thought that 8 years was so long. And nothing could change. And if you listen to their utterances, like I referred to this morning, it's felt as if power will never change. 14 days, it will finally sink in when in the morning they wake up and there is no office to go to and they have to be at home because they have been unemployed. After 14 days, it will finally sink in when Iyoko starts inviting them, and with Operation Recover All Loot, they have to start answering questions. It will soon sink. And I hope that they will find the humility to cooperate. Just like President Mahama has said, throughout the 8 years he has been in Ghana, I've seen some of the NPP people moving out of the country with I don't know why they are going. I think Ghana is so sweet. They should stay here, eat the fufu and banku. Why do you leave this to go and eat all these American and this? Ghana is sweet. They should stay here. So that they, it's sweeter when it's slower. So I'm saying that keep faith with the NDC. We will not abuse power. And Annie, you said you were threatened. Don't be threatened. We will not abuse power. But certainly, people would have to account for the things they've done. And that also includes Madame Jane Mensah. Now, you know what is happening. Have you seen that even this December, the Harmattan is different? Have you noticed that Harmattan?
How different? It's harsh.
It's harsh.
super harsh.
That's real harmattan.
Why?
When was the last time you experienced this harmattan? Now journalists have found their voices. Last week I was monitoring the airwaves, and journalists are now talking about debt exchange. Journalists are now talking about killing of 8 people during the 2020 elections. Journalists, maybe Good Morning Ghana. But in most places, journalists who, for some reason, they did not want to go into some areas, have now found a new profession. That is the environment that the NDC is promising you.
I think you've seen something I haven't seen.
No, I'm just saying that is the environment that the NDC is promising you. But having made that point that journalists have found their voice, which is very good, and you know that we have a political tradition that is very tolerant to opposing views. we must also serve notice to those who suffered economic sore throat, to those who became deaf and dumb under 8 years under this government, to those who could not see or feel anything, that we beg them. Consistency is what will build their brand. They should remain consistent. Those who saw nothing wrong with debt exchange must see nothing wrong with nothing. And so we want to tell them that the NDC of old is not the NDC they know now. We want to tell the people who did not keep faith with us that you cannot. I've seen some celebrities who are campaigning, you know, Annie, on this lighter note saying, you know, when you lose power, it's very painful. Celebrities who were campaigning for NPP. I think yesterday I saw a video of one saying that, why would she campaign for NPP? She never campaigned for NPP, only for them to go and pull her videos these days. So we are saying that they should maintain the momentum. But to the NDC members, to the numerous Ghanaians who voted because they wanted to protect the sanctity of this country, what we can promise you is that the reason for which you gave NDC the 1.7 million gap and still counting, Jane Mensah is so dazed that 2 weeks, today is exactly 2 weeks after a declaration of, we don't know the final results. She's so dazed. I said the pain she's going through is more than what Baumia and labor pain could ever be. Because at least as Baumia, he came out to say that, Charlie, by 3 p.m., my report or Honorable Larry. So he came out to concede. But as for Madame J. Mensah, I'm sure now she's even looking at this 1.7 million gap. What can I do about it? Can I reduce it so that for the purposes of Gazette and whatever, they can do all their shenanigans? But the day of accountability will come.
So what do you intend to do? I've seen some PLA's message. He says that I have read a write-up of lawyer Kwame Okufu, and the write-up gives me hope that there is still some lawyers who are still loyal to the law and principles rather than partisan political. May God bless Kwame Okufu.
What we will have to do is not a matter that we have to say. Because I told you, going into the election, there were so many things we didn't say. And people, of course, rightly so and justifiably so, were worried these guys will rig. Like how Wuntumi will sit on Wuntumi TV and spew gibberish without apology. Have journalists come and misinform people that if you want to vote for John Mahama from number 8, don't vote on the Saturday. I mean, all these gibberish. We knew what we were doing. And today, the NPP is so dazed that they didn't see. They should go for their money from Prof. Smart. The guy has received them off. They are so dazed. So whatever we will do, trust us. We are not going to do things like Afenyo Markin and the NPP
Prof.
leaders.
Smart didn't do polls. He said he did trends. He was just checking
it was after. It was after the law that he said. He even said the mother died. So he couldn't do the trend well. Did you watch that interview? Oh, I watched. No, she said they asked him that, so how did you get it so wrong? Because the gap is about 1.6 million. That was the question. He said, well, he thinks that because the mother died, they affected him. So the final data in October or something, he couldn't do. And this was the guy leading them and their research. But the point I'm making is that we will not talk about what we will do. We will just do what we have to do. There is a poem that says that slowly the muddy pool becomes a river. Slowly my mother's illness becomes her death. When wood breaks, it can be mended, but ivy breaks forever. Take time. You see President Mohammed's video that is doing you that. The time will come. And when the time comes, we will not say we'll just do. So to the NDC people out there, I know the pain. I know how it feels like. It feels like you have power. And yes, it feels like you are not using it. I know that when you are asked to exercise restraint, it feels like you want to do something and others are saying, jigbodi, jigbodila. Take your time. After 7 January, we will come back here and we'll have the same discussion.